Hey there, welcome to one of my first vlogs about my welding stuff. This channel used to be a lot of DIY stuff. I did a lot of DIY crafts, and that was a lot of fun, but my true passion is welding and creating things through welding, which is still technically DIY, but if you can't weld or you don't like welding, then it's not really a craft you can do. Either way, because it's kind of a craft channel I have going on here, I just wanted to talk about some of the stuff I do. Also, apologies if you can hear hissing in the background. I have an air pressure machine that's kind of on the fritz right now. It's being a bit feisty with me, and I can't get it to stop itself. So I have turned off all the valves, so hopefully that will shut off sometime during this. If it doesn't, hopefully it's not too bad. Anyways, moving on to the crafts. What I do is I weld. I used to weld a lot of heavy sort of industrial metal. I welded thick stuff. I plasma cut a lot of that. It was very scrap metal art is what I call it, because I used a lot of leftover bits and pieces. I didn't cut out specific pieces so much and make something out of them. I kind of went with what I had for scraps and then formed that into something else. That was okay. I did enjoy doing that. It was kind of what I had at my disposal at the time. As I grew though, I started to not like it as much because a lot of it ended up looking unfinished, and I have no problem with my unfinished work sometimes looking how they do because they look rustic. And rustic is something people like from time to time. Eventually though, I want to develop it in something a bit more because I like making things that feel like they have movement, and I enjoy making things that are smooth and appealing to the eye. Such as my little friend here in my lap is Exhibit A. This is something I started doing recently. I have been clearing out the stores around my town for silverware. I found out that I was able to do a lot more of my creations with the silverware I had at my disposal there. It started with a little bird who actually has found a little home now, but it started with him. He was made out of just a couple pieces of silverware jammed together. Very basic little guy, but he's a cute little trinket. I have a few birds in the background over here that I'll probably show later that are actually made out of just a few pieces of silverware. They are covered in cobwebs though, because I've had them outside now. They're supposed to be outside, but the spiders apparently have taken to them quite fondly because they are coated in cobwebs. At least they chose a nice home, I suppose. Nice and shiny. Maybe that's what attracted them. Him, for example, though, I chose to make him because I always really liked pangolins. I thought they were, well, damn adorable. They were just really cute, and their little armored bodies were precious. I have a hedgehog who I've had for a few years now, and she herself is, you know, kind of an armored little creature. She's not exactly plated armor, but she has her spikes. So plated, armored types of adorable creatures seem to be one of my things, especially when they have adorable tiny little faces, which is something I replicated with this guy. He actually took up to four hours. It was the first time I've made something a bit bigger and more 3D-esque. It's not the first time I've made something 3D, it's just that I've made something with motion that is more robust, I want to say. He's not just a flat piece that I have to worry about only one side. I wanted him to kind of be symmetrical on either side, which is what I managed to accomplish with him. It took a lot of practice, trial and error, like I said, because it was the first time doing something like this. So a lot of his pieces, sticking them together, things would fall off, things would break, things didn't sit together correctly. I ended up breaking a lot of my welds, re-welding them, sticking them back together, and seeing how he sat. A few times I did take a hammer to him. There was a few times when his pieces weren't sitting just correctly, so I smashed them right back into place and then welded them back securely. His hands are made out of 3-pronged forks, which I'm not actually sure where those come from. I'm sure they are... Sorry about that. His little hands and feet are actually made out of 3-pronged forks, as I was saying. I'm sure there's a specific name for them. I don't know them. I just know I've come across them sometimes. They seem to be one in a few. I don't know if people just don't use them that often, that's why they don't really come around, or if they're just usually a specialty type of fork. I'm assuming they're a specialty kind of fork. Either way, they work perfectly because they made his little tiny claw pincher friends, as you can see right there. Also, getting up close and personal, you can see that his little face is made out of tiny little triangles that I welded together into a point, and then I put down nuts as his eyes. His underside is not as beautiful. As I said, it was kind of the first time trying this out, so there's a lot of trial and error. And a lot of that trial and error is figuring out when I want to cut things off and when it sits better as a whole. I could have cut these off and left them shorter, as some of the pieces in here are, but the reason I left these longer was because at the time I was trying to figure out how to make his tail bend correctly. And having these here made it easier for me to stack pieces onto the top and weld them into place so they had something to hold on to. It's kind of a task trying to build them upwards because it's a matter of keeping them balanced and having them have something that's secure enough to hold on to without melting through the metal itself. Another thing that I did to this, which I'm not entirely happy with, but it's what I have to work with right now, is his pieces are welded together with just normal like copper wire for welding usual steel. He is stainless steel, which is what silverware is made of, so his welds have the tendency to rust while the stainless does not. Thankfully, the only reason I was able to work around this was because his welds are on the inside, so they don't come through enough for you to see them on the outside. I am hoping to get an updated setup here that will allow me to weld stainless in the way that it should be and not have to do what I am right now. It's just a matter of changing gases, changing wires, getting the correct setup for things, and I can do that. I definitely look to do that, hopefully here in the future. But so far I'm just working with what I got. Working with what I got is working so far. That being said, he turned out nicely for my little meddling around with animals and spoons. I tend to look at pictures of animals before I decide to do the next one. I haven't made a variety of different creatures yet. A lot of my stuff is currently birds. These little guys, I'm working on a turtle right now who is entirely shell or spoons around the he's entirely shell around the spoons. His shell is made entirely of spoons with like a knife rimming around it. So I look forward to finishing him, and I'll make an updated video about him once I finish him up. So far though, he's probably one of my favorites. No offense to any of my other pieces who sit off this side. I will put a description. You know, I'm not doing too well right now, I'm Mr. Pringle, and I will put links in the description to my page if you want to check out some of the other stuff I've welded. It actually goes back to my original stuff I talked about, some of the plasma cut stuff, which, you know, again, isn't my favorite part of my work, but I had to start somewhere, so starting somewhere isn't something I should be ashamed of. It took practice, and now I'm here with these guys. I'm actually looking at going into some vendor shows soon, so that's another reason I want to make a video, is because I want to track some of my progress on the way to that, which I'm really looking forward to. There's 2 of them coming up in September, so that'll be a really fun time. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, or just anything about that. I did go to college for welding for 3 or so years, graduated from that, so I have knowledge between both like the chemical aspects of welding and then the hands-on welding stuff. Not all my stuff is always going to be true to form as to how someone else might do it, so if I say something one way, don't, you know, think that someone else is doing something the wrong way. There's so many possibilities when it comes to welding and so many variations, so feel free to leave whatever you want in the comments. Just, I'll answer when I can. Thank you for joining me. There are ants crawling all over me. This is the danger of sitting outside, is the ants. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining me and my little friend, my little pangolin here. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you want to see more of this. I'll definitely be updating way more often. Here comes another car. There it goes. Anyways, thanks for joining me, guys. See you later.